Welcome, everybody. This is The Real Deal with me, Larry, Lawton, and Benz.
What's up?
We have a great show today, everybody. You know, we've been busy as heck, but, you know, we're going to talk about a few things. Just to let you know before I don't tease you too long. I got a guy named John Torres. He is amazing. He's the engagement editor for Florida Today, but he has a podcast. If you haven't heard his podcast, it's called Host of Murder on the Space Coast. It is amazing. I know John for a lot of years. He's a reporter for the Florida Today, which is owned by the USA Today, which is the biggest paper in the country, and they own Florida Today, and they're all over the Space Coast, and they cover the launch, they cover everything here in the Space Coast. But before I get started, I got a couple of things to tell you guys. First of all, if you haven't checked out all of our Patreon, all that kind of stuff, check out our merch, the book, Gangster Redemption. I talked with a Netflix official when I was up in New York. Things are popping. Things are really hitting. I actually went up there and I did a commercial for the cigar. It's my own brand. Everybody knows it. It's called the Crooked Diamond. It is launching. It's a hard date. I am told Benz here runs the cigar company. And let me tell you how big it is. First of all, we have people from all over the world. We're going to have celebrities smoking these cigars. I'm setting some things up. This is a launch for all over the world. I've been getting emails. Do we sell them in Europe and stuff like that?
All over. I don't care if you're in Zimbabwe.
No, absolutely.
I'll get them to you. I'll send a carrier.
The only one that probably right now is Russia.
Russia?
Yeah, I don't think we get it.
I don't give a shit.
If we can get in there, we fucking belong in the military.
If you're in Russia and you order and your fucking check clears, I'll find a way to get you a cigar. I'll send it by tank.
You know, no, for real, everybody, the Crooked Diamond. I smoked, and we did a commercial up north in Fire Island with some friends, and there was a guy who was a long time. He was 74 years old, been smoking cigars his whole life. I gave him the Crooked Diamond. He goes, holy shit, this is a good fucking cigar.
Hell yeah.
And it really is. This is not a joke. These are not cheap cigars. They're what are they, 1050?
Yeah, 1050 would be the cheapest cigar, and in the pre-orders, it's only going to be boxes, guys, so no singles.
Right. We're only selling boxes. We have a pre-order. Let me explain where to go. First of all, we have crookeddiamondcigar.com. Right, crookeddiamondcigar.com. Check it out. We are doing what they call, well, first of all, if you buy a box of cigars, you get a free T-shirt. I mean, we have that.
Free limited T-shirt. We're not going to be printing that T-shirt any other time other than the pre-orders. It's the Crooked Diamond Cigar Club T-shirt.
Oh, wow. So there's only going to be 500 of those made.
And whoever has it is part of the Smokers Club, and it's done.
And then we're going to do events down the line and all that kind of just for the club. Wow. That's great. I mean, I can't wait for that. We also have, if you buy a box of cigars, you get 10 tickets free. This is for free for everybody anyway. I want to let everybody know. You don't have to buy a box of cigars. I am giving away a cruise for two, a flight right in here to Orlando, a limousine ride from the Orlando to port. We're going to be going on a Friday, November 18th. We leave, come back on the 21st. It's a party cruise. All of my staff is going. From my son to Benz to my brother. Jason's trying to work on a passport. So we are going to have this thing, a party cruise, and it's free. If you're not 21 and if you live outside the country, we are giving you a
MacBook Air 2022, the M2 chip.
The actual best computer on the market. You can, and if you
I don't know about it being the best computer on the market. Don't quote us on that. It's just the newest MacBook Air.
The newest. Yeah. Okay, if you're an Apple guy,
and it's a very good computer, and it's a $2,000 computer. It's pretty.
There you go. So you can either take that or the cruise. We hope you come on the cruise. That's going to be and you're not getting a cheap room, an inside room. You get a balcony room and all that.
I've talked to some people about, people are telling me. So I just kind of wanted to feel out what people have to say on Discord and stuff, whether or not they're going to take the laptop, or they're going to come with us on the cruise. So far, anybody that can go on the cruise is going on the cruise, and I love that.
In fact, we had some people. I mentioned a former date in October. And we had a person on who watches the podcast. They actually bought tickets right away, and we're helping them out. We're getting the tickets trade for free. I'll cover the costs and everything else. So we are going to have a blast. We have a guy here, John Torres, and I'm going to get into John now. So first of all, make sure you go to thatbenz.com/giveaway. Thatbenz.com/giveaway. It costs nothing. All you got to do is sign on, be subscribed to both of our YouTubes, and sign up for our newsletter. That's it. You get an entry into our cruise giveaway. If you buy a pre-ordered box of cigars, you get 10 entries, plus the one you're going to put on there. So you're going to have 11 entries. And I'll tell you, this is not like lottery odds. Let's say there's 1,000 people. You got pretty good odds if you do.
The odds are pretty good, I think, yeah.
So it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have, and listen, people who know me, when I like to party, it's on. I don't give a fuck.
You don't want to miss this.
I don't give a fuck. It's going to be a fucking crazy. Listen, too many years in prison for me to give a fuck. They just have to have security. We better bring our own security, I'm thinking. I really am thinking.
Bring our own security?
Like yeah.
I was going to bring, Jason was going to be my security.
Yeah, well, we need Jason anyway, but when your security is fucked up and you know, off to jail, then what do we do?
Then we become our own security.
We're teasing Jason. He's in the studio. You guys know him. He's with Benz in the after show to talk shit. It's called the Talk Shit After Show. That's what we have. Now, let me bring in my guest, everybody. As I said, John Torres. He is the host of Murder on the Space Coast. That's how I know John from years at the Florida Today. I've been around here since I got out of prison in 2007 to help my mom. Well, John is the host of that show now, and it is a great, great show. John, welcome to our show.
This is awesome. I mean, I actually feel like I've made it. I'm on the real deal with Larry Lawton. I mean, what could be better than this?
You know, John, thank you. But I'll tell you what, you know, you've been in the media your whole life probably, and you're a great writer. You know,
Thanks.
I always love, and you know I text you when I see a good story or something. And it's not because it's just my ways of thinking. Because everybody knows I'm a libertarian. I'm fiscally conservative, but socially liberal. I don't give a fuck what you do in your own house. That's as long as it's not against a child, not against or anything. And fiscally conservative, I don't want to give my money away to people who are lazy. You know, that's the only thing I have. I am so middle of the road libertarian guy, and I think most people are.
You know, it's really funny because I am. Yeah. You know, I'm conservative, but like socially, I'm not. You know, on the extreme right. You know, anti-woke, you know, people. I mean, I'm not for the woke, you know, culture, but yeah, I mean, look, I'm in the middle, and you know, fiscally, I am conservative, and you know, I like my money. I don't want to give it away.
But you don't care what people do in their own house.
No, I don't.
I mean, I see you write.
Right.
You can tell it in your writing.
Right.
You know, you care about people who got, you know, wrongly convicted.
Yes.
And we're going to get into a lot of this today.
Well, and you know, like that's the thing, Larry. I have this reputation now, unfortunately, in Brevard County of being anti-police because I want innocent guys released from prison.
Well, I
want bad guys put away. I do.
I'm going to straighten this out to everybody who listens to this. I know John and me. Everybody, I am not even anti-police, and I was an ex-con. I am for good police. My biggest thing is I'm a very community-oriented policing guy, meaning, and I gave lectures, I spoke, and I taught at the police academies. You know, I'm an honorary police officer. I didn't know if you knew that. Yeah. I'm the only ex-con in the United States who is an honorary police officer. I'm the only ex-con who's ever been recognized on the floor of the United States Congress. People don't know that. Also, you know, I developed the #1 program for helping kids in the country. It's actually recognized on the floor of Congress. It's called the Reality Check Program.
Right.
But, you know, I am for good policing. I had a very good relationship with the police chief here, this guy named Moya, who used to be in Palm Bay.
Yeah.
Now he left. He went back to Long Island to help with the gang issues. I know him very well. We talked. Very good guy. Actually, I was the instrumental one, and he'll tell you this, who got body cameras into Palm Bay Police Department. Because I had meetings with them, and I pushed it, and they went with it because it's the right thing to do. Listen, when you give a person power, John, like you're going to talk about a lot of this today, when you give a police officer the power to arrest or shoot you, take your liberty or shoot you under the color of law, we better be damn sure we got the right people in the right places. Yes. And that's my bitch. So before we're gonna talk about Murder on the Space Coast, and I want to let everybody know they can find John on Twitter and Facebook. It's at 321murder. At 321murder. Check John out, and believe me, I think if you Google a Murder on the Space Coast, it comes up.
Oh yeah, it should. Yeah.
And it's just called Murder on the Space Coast. Let me give everybody a pre, and then you're gonna jump in. John's show highlights people who have been in prison for many, many, many years. It's kind of like the Innocent Project. Now, I knew Bill Dillon. Bill Dillon was a young 21-year-old kid. He had a case here in Satellite Beach and he in Canova Park, and he was at the wrong place at the wrong time. They mishandled this case so bad. He ended up getting out of prison after 27 years. He ended up getting $1.3 million from the legislature, which is bullshit. He had to fight for that. Like all those years. In my opinion, you should get $1 million a year at minimum. Secondly, this kid is not bitter. I mean, he plays the guitar. He was gang raped. his first day in Florida State.
His first hour.
First hour. I knew it was the first day. I had him on my show. First hour, gang rape, 5 guys.
Holy shit.
Gang rape. They put a pillowcase over his head. You know the story, I'm sure.
Yep.
Did you ever interview him?
Oh, yeah. You know, and in fact, what was really cool was that I actually interviewed him while he was in prison still.
Oh, wow.
He was writing us letters, and I had already made acquaintances with the people at the Innocence Project who were handling his case. Seth Miller, just a great lawyer, great guy. Went up to see Dylan, and we interviewed him, and we did some video. And then we covered his, all the appeals, all the hearings. And, it's just so funny how these guys try to hold on to these bad convictions. He was convicted because they kept saying a yellow shirt that had blood on it was his, and that he wore it when he killed this guy. Well, the DNA finally came back from the sweat stains on the shirt, the neck stains on the shirt wasn't his. His DNA is nowhere near that shirt. Somebody else is in. It is, and his name was actually in the files that the cops had on that case. So, and
they try to defend it?
And they try to say, well, even if he wasn't wearing it, we know he did it.
And here's the best thing of this case where people were they had what they call a faulty dog handler, a guy named Preston. He's been quoted in a lot of these cases you're going to hear. They also had prosecutors that were so overzealous. They actually, in my opinion, we're going to talk about this. That's prosecutorial misconduct. You're going to hear that. Secondly, in this case, the detective was fucking the one of the witnesses.
It was Dylan's girlfriend.
It was Dylan's girlfriend. The detective was fucking Dylan's girl. I say it right on the show. You could curse here, John.
Charlie Slaughter. Yeah.
There you go. Charlie was fucking the guy's daughter. So he wanted him off the picture.
Did this come up in court?
I think it did under appeal. I can't remember. I mean, because the trial was in 84. I'm still in.
It did not come up during the trial. I knew that.
Okay.
It was afterwards that all this information come out. But what people don't know in the court, and I don't know if you know, I do the law too. I did 10 years of the law. I got credits for a law degree, all that. But I can't be because I'm a convicted felon, and that's federally mostly. But what people don't know, it's very hard to get back into court. And the federal system is called the 2255. Usually you go under ineffective assistance of counsel. You find your counsel did something fucked up and you get back into court. These cases are actually what they call the directed verdict backed by a federal judge. Judges can do that. That's where the Innocent Project comes in. I testified for them as well, at kids because of, I don't know if you know, the law changed that if somebody's a juvenile, they can't give them a life sentence.
Yes, right.
Unless there's extenuating circumstances, and then they have to have a special hearing. Well, back then they didn't. But
You
anyway.
helped change that law?
Yeah, well, not change it. I was helping the people get the kids out because once they passed that law, they had to give everybody who was under 18 at the time a resentencing hearing.
Right, so the same reason why they won't legalize marijuana. Gotcha.
Yeah, and it's really stupid because some of these kids, they gave 50 years anyway.
Right.
So they went around the spirit of the law. I actually talked to that on Fox News and one of the news stations. They took, the spirit of the law was to see if their life is savable. I mean, a kid is 14, 15, he does something. I don't believe a kid should do this. I'm a very compassionate John.
Yeah.
Guy, John. I believe people need second chances. Look at me. People used to say, Larry was a fucking bad guy. And I was. When you read the book, I was a bad fucking guy. And I'm not proud of that. But, people change.
Exactly.
And I don't care who you are. I don't know how old you are, Joe, but when you were 20, you were a different man than you are today.
Totally.
And 30.
A lot thinner, too.
Yeah, I mean... Well, I want to talk about a case here because, this is fascinating, my listeners, because the people around here know you, but people all over the world, we're going to talk about the American prison system and the judicial system, and we're going to be talking about people who had life sentences, and when they're finding out years and years later, 10, 20, 30 years later, that these people were innocent. Now they can even question. You're doing a case on do you pronounce it Crosley Green?
It's Crosley.
Crosley Green.
Yep.
This case I've been following. I've been following all your writings, John. And I wanted to highlight. I want you to go from the beginning of this case and tell my audience about this case.
Sure. So just to preface it, like you just said, Wilton Dedge, William Dillon, Gary Bennett, Juan Ramos, all convicted with this John Preston guy, this dog handler.
Yeah, is the detective at the Brevard County Sheriff?
Well, no, he was a contractor basically. He was a former state trooper out of Pennsylvania, and he would sell, services. He would go
Oh, I
around.
didn't know that. Okay, good.
And we have affidavits from cops that are now passed away and stuff, but that he would ask for all the information about the case before he went out with his dogs. So that's bullshit right there, right? That's you're not supposed to do that.
Well, in the court's called ex parte communications. You can't do that.
so like all these guys were all innocent. Gary Bennett's in prison still. Unfortunately, he got sentenced to life in prison. If he got sentenced to die, he probably would be out because the Florida Supreme Court would have automatically, looked at that dog evidence and said this is, bogus. And so, unfortunately, his case is stalled at the 5th DCA because
He's still in the state court?
Yeah, because his appeal, they issued a what is the term? A per curiam affirmed, whatever, which means
even with the evidence, there was enough evidence to keep him convicted.
And without an opinion, you can't appeal it further. So
and it was given with no opinion?
Right, correct.
Wow.
So that's where he is right now. And his family's always emailing me. It's sad. Anyway.
Is he in state or federal prison?
He's in state prison. Okay.
If it's the DCA, in feds, they go to federal court. So that the district court and fed, the appeals court and fed is in 11th, in Atlanta. That's 11th Circuit. DCA here is for this circuit, there's 20 circuits in the state of Florida. We're in the 18th Judicial Circuit. So that DCA handles so many circuits in Florida, just try to give people how it works. Now, when a appeal goes to a DCA or district appeals court, they get a 3-panel. Now, those judges usually give an opinion. Usually if it's a 2-1 or a 3-0, they'll give an opinion. Now, they can ask for what they call, where they get all the opinions, all of them.
En banc, that's called. Yeah.
En banc. Yeah. Boy, he's bringing back memories too. Man, I'm glad I don't do this shit anymore. I like this better because I don't have a judge tell me I can't say that. No, in the briefs. But John, let's get back to these guys.
Yeah.
So now all of them are. You believe every one of them are innocent?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, William Dillon and Wilton Dedge were exonerated because of
got money
of DNA. Yes.
Did Dredge get money?
Yes, he did, but he had to fight for it also.
How much did he get?
Like $1 million and change. Yeah,
fucking
I know.
garbage.
I know.
For 30 fucking years.
I know. Yeah, he was in for 22 years, and what's sick is that he was in there for rape, right? Supposedly he was working in New Smyrna Beach, right? I mean, not supposedly, he was. Supposedly he drives down to Brevard on his lunch hour, finds a 17-year-old girl who's home alone that he doesn't know, rapes her, stabs her a few times, drives back in time to clock back in at work. I mean, it is just totally bogus, right?
That's got to be impossible. I mean, has anybody did it, like an investigator, try to time it and do it?
I think he was on his motorcycle, so they said he was probably doing 100 on his motorcycle back, so he could rape somebody, right? And
so many assumptions, man.
Yeah. Wow. So now what, in his case, the eyewitness, the rape victim, and we've learned now over the years that eyewitness testimony is not that reliable because you're under duress, right? You're obviously having a horrible time, a horrible moment. You don't really see things clearly. You're panicking. Well, she saw him in a store, Wilton Dedge, and he probably was checking her out or something. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And it probably freaked her out, and she told the cops it was him, right? So, but there's no evidence. There's nothing. So, in those days, before DNA, they had pubic hair, right? So they said, well, the pubic hair is blondish. It's him. He's the rapist. He goes away 22 years, right? He appeals. He wins the appeal. On his way back, the prosecutor...
Did the Innocent Project pick him up?
Yeah, but that was much later.
Okay,
so he just... This was not like a regular appeal because...
Right.
Of,
So he won it within a couple of years. He wins his appeal.
And he's on his way back to Brevard County, and the prosecutors put Clarence Zaki on the van with him. Google that name when you can. This guy was a drug dealer. He is a murderer. He tried to kill the DA here. I was the state attorney at the time. His name was Doug Cheshire.
Oh, he was before Norm Wolfe.
He killed Michael Hunt's brother. Michael Hunt
is I know exactly who he is.
But and he was sentenced to life in prison, like 100 times over. And suddenly his sentence is only 10 years more. He began ratting on people, but he's making up stuff. So he gets in the van with Dedge, rides back. Dedge said he slept the whole time. His lawyers obviously told him, don't say a word to anybody about anything. And this guy says that Wilton Dedge, had confessed the whole crime to him. and kill that lake lady and stuff. So trial number 2, they didn't have the actual dog handler, right, because that got thrown out. But they have Zachy now to come in and say he told me he did it.
Okay, you saying that the dog handler evidence got thrown out on the appeal? He wins an appeal.
Yeah.
What was the appeal win on?
I'm pretty sure it was the dog handler stuff.
Okay.
But I'm not 100%.
Right.
So
Okay. Got it. No, that's okay.
Yeah. So that got thrown out, and but now because Clarence Zachy, a professional liar. Okay, he just so he's like sentenced to life in prison, dead, right? So, and I'm sorry if this is kind of long, but
no.
So,
it's very interesting.
When he was convicted in the closing argument, I think the number was like 67 or 68 times the prosecutor mentioned the pubic hair, right? So now DNA comes along, and the Innocence Project is on his case, and the pubic hairs are tested. They're not his. So it's like, oh my God, this guy's going to go free. So we're all in court. The court's jam-packed. There's like TV cameras everywhere. What's his name? Like Barry Scheck is there. All the
biggest
big shots.
lawyers you had.
All the big
Innocent
shots are there.
Barry Scheck.
And the prosecutors here in Brevard County, and I believe it was Wayne Holmes and Chris White at the time, said,
I know them both.
The hair is inconsequential. That could have been anybody's pubic hair. After saying it like 68 times, like during closing, that this is why he's the rapist, right? Well, thank God there was a little bit of semen left that could now be tested. So he stays in prison for a little while longer. I think almost like a year, longer while they're testing, like the DNA. And it's not his. The semen, it wasn't his. And she said, the only semen inside of me is from the rapist. So there are still people in the state attorney's office who think that he's guilty.
It's amazing when I read, and I know some of them, and I don't talk about this kind of stuff, but it to me, it's amazing that people will go against hard straight. It's like, I don't know what gets in a person's head. Listen, one of my talents, someone said this years ago, is Larry, we talked about this many times at lunch, Ben. John, you could change my mind. I have opinions. We all argue. We do stuff. If we talk logically and you can change my mind, I will change it. I'm not hard-headed enough to say, fuck no, I'm still right. I mean, you change my mind with evidence, with this, or whatever it is. In two things, we talk about that a lot at lunch. Yeah. And I think that's important to everybody. And I do that with young people. They could change my mind about something. I'm not stupid enough to think I know everything. Secondly, when I deal with police who are like this, or prosecutors are like this, these are the people, and I always say this, they have immunity, but they shouldn't. There has to be a change in the system where at some point a person has to be held accountable. I get you can't do it for an incident that happens. It's a hair trigger pull. It's not malicious. It's not stuff. At some point when you are that hard-headed, there has to be a consequence where that person. Now, you're wrong that much for that kind of thing, you're going to face 2 years in jail, or you're going to lose your pension, or you're going to lose something. There has to be something to take away that immunity.
Well, John Dean Moxley, who is,
became a judge.
Dean Moxley. He was the main prosecutor in all these cases, and Chris White was his right-hand man. And, you can make a mistake, like you just said, right? You can make a mistake. Second time, it's like, oh, you guys got to be careful. The third time, I mean, there's a problem here, right? So now we fast forward to 1989. Okay, all these other cases happened in the early to mid-'80s, 82, 83, 84, around there. John Preston is gone because
that's the dog handler.
A local judge thought it was bullshit. I think his name was Gil Goshorn, and he said, I want to test the dog on a simple track, a half mile in the woods. He had a lawyer jog it a few times, whatever. He takes off his shirt, hands it to the dog. The dog couldn't find
himself.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Let me give you a quick thing on the dogs, and I know this from court. First of all, a lot of police do dogs wrong. When they walk around a car, that's wrong. Because they can single them with a tension of their hand to have that dog sit. The proper way for a dog to check a car is they get the dog, they let it off its leash, and it goes. Now, if it goes around and around, it sits down, that's the telltale sign of a drug or something. Right. But you walking the dog around the whole car, and to do that, I'm doing this on camera, everybody, even though podcast. I'm moving my thumb. You do that, Dog sits down. Oh, with probable cause, but now we're going to search the car.
There's a video that's circulating the internet right now, and it's going to go bigger than it already is, and it's already viral, of a cop thought he was out of the
range of the cameras.
Well, there was another cruiser, and he was standing at a position where you could see what he's doing. He had the dog. The guy's walking the dog around the car, right? And now they want to get in the car, and he throws something, and the dog sits down.
Oh, wow.
And he was right in the frame of his camera, but you could tell he wanted to be in the dead spot of the car so the driver didn't see it. And that's circulating the internet right now. You could find it. I mean, I'm sure.
Well, I knew a lot of defense lawyers and stuff, and we used to do a lot of evidence on that.
By the way, this video is within the last month. How crazy is that?
Wow. And I had no idea that. You know that. I mean, that's just with the dogs. I wanted to let them know. So continue, John.
Yeah, so just one last example of how preposterous John Preston's claims were and his dog, right? I don't know if you've ever heard of Gerald Stano. He was a supposed serial killer, electrocuted here in Florida, killed, supposedly killed a lot of people. Well, Gerald Stano had a very, very low IQ, was a battered child. Some people say that he was mentally retarded. I don't know if that's the term we use nowadays.
Under 70 IQ is considered, and actually they're supposed to be not able to help defend themselves and
so he was a serial confessor, and so you could get this guy to just confess to things. So like Daytona Beach, there was a cop there. I can't think of his name right now, but he's on season 2 of the podcast I did, Murder on the Space Coast. He basically just got Gerald Stano to just confess to all these murders, right? So there's one more murder here that is unsolved. I think her name was Kathy Lee Scharf, and I apologize if that's wrong, but that seems to be, and it was on Merritt Island in some wooded area. So they bring in John Preston 8 years after she's found dead. 8 years. Now, a dog track 8 days later is no good. They bring him in 8 years later.
And he finds him.
Well, he so they mowed a path basically in this really high grass, right? And the dog is going, and there's video of this, and we have it up on our website, and the dog lays down a few times and stops, and John Preston actually has to kick the dog in the ass to make him go. And then he says, well, he brought it here. So he was tracking Gerald Stano's prison, his clothes to the spot of the murder 8 years later. Gerald Stano was executed because of that conviction in Brevard County.
It was that conviction?
That conviction executed him. Because he had life in prison for all the other ones.
I know what happens. I was in prison with a lot of lifers. I was in USP Atlanta. I was in the bad prisons. And what happens is people start justifying how this guy's a scumbag and it doesn't matter. It's wrong. I don't believe in the death penalty, and there's a lot of reasons why, because I was in prison. I've seen so many exonerations. I watched people who are, they did bad things, John, but they do change. And, I don't think an eye for an eye is the way we should do it. I just don't. There's a lot of things. And living in prison.
It's not even an eye for an eye. A murder for a murder is not a murder. It's not an eye for an eye. You get a last meal. You get to go in a way different way. You want to talk eye for an eye.
Yeah.
You just got to start chopping some shit.
Yeah, and here's the problem even too. People don't understand. As a man who lived in that environment, it's bad to live in there. And look at Whitey Bulger. I know the people. Freddie Geese killed Whitey Bulger. They killed him within 12 hours. Some people say 12 minutes of him coming on the yard. So it's not a great environment for people who, things happen in prison. I can't say good or bad. I'm saying justice always seems to have a way of working its way out, I believe,
right,
without us interfering in ways that, and you'd wonder what turns a person's inner self to do that. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. Michael Hunt's brother, I did not know that, was killed by that guy.
Yeah.
And they actually let that guy out. I assume he might be out by now.
Well, no,
how bad did they want Dedge?
Exactly. Look, like how they're fighting all these cases. Crosley Green, who we haven't spoken about yet.
That's a major case we got to talk about.
Even if you think he's guilty, there are so many holes in the case, and he's already served over 30 years. I mean, just let him out already. If you think he's guilty, he's already done.
Oh, you're talking about the
take a mental evaluation.
We're going to talk about the Green case.
Take a mental evaluation, see if he's a changed man, and make a decision based on that.
Well, that's what I actually hired to do by a lot of people to see how prison affected him. Have they changed? Because you can get infractions in prison. People go, oh, look, he's not even changing. Bullshit. Someone tries to rape you, get an infraction. Something happens. I had a lot of them. Right. Let's put it that way. So my point is, you can't look at it that. You have to look at other things that happen in prison, and that's what I actually testified on at courts. And I was classified as expert in many circuits in Florida, and to give evidence on, because I would interview the guy in prison like you guys would, but I know prison, so I know what he's going through. It's a whole different animal.
Sure.
Now, John, we're going to get again. Everybody, John Torres is the engagement editor with the Florida Today, one of the bigger papers. It is the biggest paper in this whole Central Florida area. Excuse me. He's also the host of Murder on a Space Coast. What a great podcast! You actually did it in Cocoa Beach out of a theater once. A
theater, yeah. We used to have these events at the end of the podcast, sort of like a party, and sort of meet the people on the podcast. And
I got to come on your podcast.
Yes, you do. Absolutely, absolutely. You do.
We have a great time there talking about the murder, because I follow him. Now we're going to go into more. And John is also follow John on Twitter and Facebook. It's at 321 Murder. At 321 Murder. We will have all that info in the bottom of all of these descriptions. We're going to get into a case right now, John. I know I'm jumping in.
No, that's okay.
A guy named is Crosley Green. Crosley. I always do that. Crosley Green. Now, I'm going to give a little bit of the case that I know. How's that?
Sure.
Now, Crosley Green was a black man in his, I think he was, at the time, he was about 30 years old.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
And he there was a murder in Rockledge, I think it was.
It was Titusville.
Okay, I knew it was up there.
Up north, yep.
It was up north, and what happened was, it happened in a field, or again, an abandoned area. A cop came there, and the two cops that this lady came out with in a truck with the black guy after the guy. And now she's saying that the black guy held a gun on her. She's the only witness. And the guy didn't even know how to drive a stick shift. It was a stick shift. And he's the wrong hand in the gun so far. Even the cop said this story is bullshit. They convicted this man for a murder. Can you please get all the holes I just fucked up?
Yeah. So Chip Flynn, 22-year-old kid from Mims, Titusville area, his ex-girlfriend and him meet up one night, Kim Halleck. And so they meet up, and he's already moved on. He already has like somebody else, but she seems hung up on him. So they go to Holder Park, which like they have like some little league games and crap like that. But it's like midnightish, and they fool around supposedly. But she says that a black man approached the vehicle and held them up at gunpoint and told them to drive away. Now she says that
held them up for robbery.
Yes.
Okay.
Or like carjacking or a rape. I'm not sure what's going to happen. Right.
But how could he tell him to drive away if he's jacking him? If he's taking the car, how is he telling him to drive away?
That alone.
Yeah. So he and all of this is her story and these states, right? So she says that she has to tie up her boyfriend's hands behind his back with a shoestring, and that he has a gun in the glove box. The boyfriend. So she takes the gun and she puts it under some clothes that are on the bench. And that's me. I'm sorry, guys. This is live.
The real deal, baby.
It's the real deal, baby.
Okay.
If it's somebody good, you could answer it.
No, it's the Eye Institute. I need to make an appointment.
Eye Institute. Nah, John. Your eyes got to go.
I
we
never
need
have
you.
my ringer on. That's like the craziest thing.
Okay,
sorry,
buddy. That's all right. It's the real deal.
Yeah. So
she's got the gun. She puts it behind the clothes.
And so supposedly Crosley Green now drives away. Right, he's driving a stick shift, and this was a super jacked up like pickup truck. Okay, it was actually really hard to actually do the gears apparently, while he's holding a gun on Kim. Now you can't, unless he has three arms, you can't do that.
Right. And you don't know how to drive one.
Right. He doesn't know how to drive stick shift. So anyway, they end up in an orange grove, which is nearby, right? And she says that she got out of the car and he's like, making like, he's angry.
Where is the boy? Where's the boyfriend?
He's in the car and he's tied up.
She tied him.
Yeah. So the boyfriend grabs the gun. This is her story, and leaps out of the truck, shooting the gun behind his back at Crosley Green. And supposedly Crosley Green and him end up in a firefight, and the kid gets shot, right? She says that Crosley Green runs away. She gets in the truck, and she drives away for help, right? Now, she passes a hospital. She passes payphones.
Oh, the guy's in the car.
No, he's there in the field, but she's going for help, supposedly.
Where's she going, did she say?
Well, she ended up she passes her parents' house. She passes the hospital. She passes, like payphones. She ends up at Chip Flynn's friend's house, bangs on his window at 1 a.m, and says, Chip has been shot. Chip has been shot. Now, the guy wakes up, and he's, like stunned, and he has to talk her into calling 911, right? So she calls 911, but she doesn't want to go out there with the Lake Sheriff's deputies. She doesn't want to. They talk her into going, and she gives them bad.
This is her boyfriend?
Yeah. Ex-boyfriend.
Yeah, exactly.
So they were out there doing something, so it wasn't so ex.
Well, right, but
exactly.
they're supposedly. She was fucking them is what happened.
Right. And so, she gives them bad directions. It takes them a long time to get to the orange field, right? The orange grove.
Interesting.
The two responding officers, Sergeant Diane Clark, great lady, sheriff's office, retired, and Mark Rixey, end up going out to the scene, and they have their guns drawn and stuff because they don't know if there's a shooter out there or what. And they find the kid laying there, right? And all he says is, I want to get out of here. Can you take me home?
The kid.
Take me home.
Oh,
Yeah.
he's alive.
He's alive.
Oh, he's shot but alive.
Shot in the belly or his right chest. Right chest. up
She
here.
left him for dead, that bitch.
Oh my God.
That's what the podcast was called. Season 5. Like Murder on the Space Coast, Left for Dead.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Bitch.
Yeah.
I like the answer.
Left for dead.
So they examine the area. He doesn't say, is Kim okay? Is Kim safe? She never asks about him. He never says, hey, there's a black guy with a gun around here. Be
I had a
careful.
shootout with him.
Right. None of that stuff. I just want to go home. What happened here? I just want to go home. Please, I want to go home. He ends up dying in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. He bled out. They examine the scene after hearing her story, and there's no evidence of any sort of, chase on foot. There's no fingerprints from Crosley Green anywhere on the truck, even though he, drove it, supposedly. There's only shell casings from Chip's gun. And the part that I find most remarkable is that the clothes that the gun were hidden behind on the bench of his truck were laid out like a blanket where her and Chip,
Him or fucking, yeah.
probably had sex.
Yeah. You're so nice.
So if this guy jumped out with the gun and his hands are tied, how is there a blanket down to have sex, right? It just doesn't make any
How would the
any
blanket
sense.
still be down if you had to get the gun from underneath it?
Right,
Yeah,
right.
Wait, question. When they picked him up, was he tied up still?
Yes, but they it was like described as loosely tied as if possibly for sex.
Gotcha. Okay.
No,
I get it.
so,
I can't do that. I've been in
Still
handcuffs
was a
too
shoestring.
many times.
Was a shoestring.
it was a shoestring, right?
Did they find out whose shoe that was? Was there a shoe missing a
I
string?
think it was his. Yeah, I think it was his own shoe.
His own
You know,
shoe.
Chip
Well, she
Flynn's,
took it off. They had some fun, and
She's
hey,
the
I'll
one that
tie
put
my
it
hand.
on him, even by her story with the
Right.
black guy shooting
Right.
everything up.
Yes.
So she tied him behind him. She's giving him a blowjob. It's something exciting, and something happened. That's
Right.
my theory
Look,
already.
Either like the two of them were like target practicing, and a ricochet got him, or something, or he said, "I'm not leaving my girlfriend just because we had sex." That's all it was sex, and she gets pissed. I don't know what happens there, right? We don't know. We do know that it wasn't Crosley Green. That's bogus, right? So anyway, apparently they try to pin this thing on somebody by the name of O'Connor Green, because she says some like black guy did it. O'Connor Green is Crosley's brother, and at the time he was a big time crack and cocaine dealer in the Titusville area. So they wanted him off the streets.
It's an easy target.
Easy target again, right? Just like Wilton Dedge, high school dropout, William Dillon, sort of like a pothead on the
They
beach.
all have target on their back in a way.
Yes. So
Not the most intelligent people. Right.
Exactly.
So, but O'Connor has an airtight alibi. He's at some bar. 100 people were out there with him that night. He was nowhere near this, right? Crosley Green had just gotten out of prison, I think like a month earlier. Maybe like 3 weeks earlier. He did a year and a half for like selling coke.
Okay, yeah.
So a non-violent charge?
Right.
Yeah, street deal.
He has no violence in his past, right? And listen to this. He had to raise his kids, extended family, because his dad murdered his mother and then shot himself in front of Titusville police when he was like 15 years old.
This is Crosley and his brother Green. That's why.
So
I'd be a drug dealer too.
Yeah, it's a really messed up, like situation. So anyway, she says a black guy did it. So they do some drawing that really doesn't look like Crosley Green, and then she's given a photo lineup, and the photo lineup, and we have photos of this up on FloridaToday.com. It's so prejudicial. Crosley Green's photo is right in the middle. It's darker than the rest, a little bit smaller than the rest. Your eye is just drawn there. I did a non-scientific test with the people at the paper. Who do you notice first? And they all went to Crosley Green.
And they don't know any. Right. It's not like they knew anything.
Suggestive.
Yeah. Oh no, no question.
But then the cops actually tell her she can't identify. She's I don't know, whatever. And the cops say, well, he's in here. The murderer is one of these guys, which you're not supposed to do.
Right. Of course not.
So she finally agrees that it's Crosley Green, and he gets arrested.
What police department?
Sheriff's office.
Oh, the sheriff again, not
Brevard
the
County
Sheriff.
Sheriff's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brevard County Sheriff.
She picks him out of a picture or out of a lineup?
Out of a picture.
A photo lineup.
A photo lineup.
They'll put a photo lineup of 6 people, and like he's saying, they'll make one lighter. They'll
this
put
is
him
before
in.
they have him in custody?
Yes.
Okay.
They're picking him up.
And so now somebody calls the Titusville hospital that night. I think it was what's up there, Parish Hospital.
Parish Medical Center,
and says we're coming to finish the job on Chip Flynn, or like something like that, whatever. The guy that was just brought in, we're coming back to kill him.
He's dead though. They don't know it.
He's dead, right?
Somebody didn't know it.
Like somebody,
So somebody basically called in a death threat into a hospital,
right? And,
Of the guy that was shot,
right? Who's dead, but apparently they didn't know.
Right. So, and I have some theories as to who that is, but we'll get there in a second. So, Crosley Green's finally arrested, right? And they bring in a dog handler, not John Preston, because he's already disgraced. But this
I'm
guy's
so against dog handlers.
What year is this?
This is 89.
Okay.
And they bring him in, and he follows a scent in Holder Park, right, where there's thousands of people in that park every day playing Little League and all kinds of stuff, out onto the street, out to Sheila Green's house, Crosley's older sister. Well, she's got 6 dogs in the yard, yapping.
Right.
The dog is going, and the dog is like crossing streets, and he's going up roads. Yeah, I mean, it's just.
You mean a dog being a dog?
Yeah.
It's a dog,
right?
So, look, he's arrested. They have nothing. So, what do? Well, Chris White, it's alleged that he approached, Crosley Green's sister, who was facing a lot of prison time in federal prison for drugs, her boyfriend, and this other friend. They were all going away for drugs, and she was on the verge of losing her children because of that. And Chris White, all 3 of them have all testified that Chris White said to them, if you testify in this case, you won't, you are not going to lose your kids. We'll make sure that your kids, this, that,
And you're not going to prison.
She went anyway, but I think it was a more lenient, sentence.
Chris White is a prosecutor.
Right. He was the one that worked on all these other cases as well.
Now, prosecutors and policemen are known to say this. This is very common. If you break a law, any law, you get caught with a joint. The first thing they tell you when they get to you is, if you tell me who gave you that joint or where you got this, you walk scot-free. So this is very common. It happens whether it's a murder or a jaywalking.
Just to let the legal straight part of it, a cop does that all the time, has no say.
Right.
A prosecutor does.
Right.
They're the ones who file the charges.
But the cops get you warmed up.
Yeah, no, meaning your cop's going to promise you the world. They can't do shit. Tell them to go fuck themselves.
Right.
You take a prosecutor, obviously they have the power to charge or not charge.
Right. But it doesn't stop cops from doing that.
Oh, no. They do it. That's why, again, we're going to go into the immunity a little bit. But now keep going, because how does it get to Green? He mustn't have an alibi.
Well, it's like it would be funny if it wasn't so tragic. He's having sex that night with somebody. He has an alibi. The woman's married.
Oh, shit.
When she gets
Terrible.
subpoenaed, she doesn't show up to court, so his alibi falls apart, right? She doesn't want the husband to know that she's banging somebody else. And so then you have Crosley Green's own sister, her boyfriend, and some other friend come in and say, yeah, he was acting funny. He said he did something bad and he feels badly for it, blah, blah, blah. He is convicted and sentenced to die.
The death penalty.
Electric chair at the time, right. That got reduced on appeal to life in prison, which is when I started following the case after 20 years on like death row because of some youthful infraction that the jury knew about that they weren't supposed to have.
And that was the second offense that made it go
so
to
on
the
a
death
technicality,
penalty.
he got taken off of death row and put into life in prison. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Well, not only what happens is that you need predicating offenses. Is that there's death penalty is a whole different kind of qualifying thing. Back then it was different. It's a little harder now. But in this case, so there's no physical evidence whatsoever. There's no fingerprints of him there. There's no gun with his fingerprints on it. Nope. There's no bullet. The bullet casings they found, they don't have his fingerprints. There's no DNA of him being in that truck, correct?
All they have is a bunch of hearsay. Nobody that even saw him.
Well, I'm going to let him.
Only casings from like Chip's gun. Chip and he had like semen in his pants or whatever, so he had sex that night or right before going out, whatever. So a hair is found later on in the truck, and so Crosley Green's attorneys are like, we it has to be tested. Let's and it's like Afro style hair,
right, sure.
So they go, and he can't be excluded from the DNA.
He can't be excluded.
Right. He's not a match. He can't be excluded. So then the guy that owned the truck before Chip and sold it to him, and the guy that like jacked it all up, he was good friends with O'Connor Green. And O'Connor Green and him, they used to go around Titusville riding around. So
the brother.
Titusville's a small town, everybody.
Yeah, if there's a hair in there, and so O'Connor and him went to court and they testified and said, I was in the truck a lot. That hair is probably, it's mine, and so forth. But there was no relief. Now, some other friend of Chip Flynn's, the victim who died, right, said, rest in peace, Chip, and all this, but he was a racist. And if a black guy shot him and a cop said what happened, he would have no problem saying some fucking N-word shot me. Go get him.
Right. He was that way.
But all he said was, I just want to go home.
He didn't want to say a word. He didn't care.
I just want to get out of here. Yeah, I just want to get out of here and, just, like sleep.
Now, what I've read and what I've heard, to this day, the woman is sticking with the story. Is that true?
Well, supposedly, she, look, I always say if you've done something wrong, don't talk about it ever to anybody. So she's never spoken about it after the trial, not on TV, not with us. Not she, went on with her life, and she hasn't said one word about it officially on the record to anybody. Okay. So he's in prison. So really cool story is that this Washington DC, based law firm, Crowell and Mooring, right? I have to give them a shout out.
Well, Crowell,
CROWELL, ampersand Mooring, one of the top firms in the world. They do all types of criminal and, also contract stuff, all over the place. They're assigned the case, by the American Bar Association to get him off of, like Florida's death row.
Death row, right.
Right. So they do that, but they believe he's innocent. Not just that he's not guilty, he's innocent. This guy is totally innocent. And so they have stayed the case and have worked his case for like 13 or 14 years now, racking up millions of dollars.
Pro bono, though.
Pro bono.
Pro bono means for free, everybody. Pro bono means for free.
And so a few years ago, in like 2018, I can't believe has been like that long ago, a like federal judge in Florida issued a Brady violation. He said a like Brady violation occurred. And for your listeners who don't know what a Brady violation is, prosecutors have to share information that could exonerate or prove that the defendant is innocent with the lawyers, with his lawyers.
Yeah, they can't hold back evidence.
Right.
And so they had, Moxley had notes. Chris White had notes that he took that Clark and Rixey, the two responding officers, went to him and said, her story doesn't hold up. We don't believe her. There's no evidence here of the things that she says. We think the girl did it. That quote, we think the girl did it.
In the paperwork.
And that was never brought up in court.
And not even given to the defense.
Right.
Well, which is
That's
the problem.
the Brady violation.
So he wins a new trial within like 90 days or his freedom, right? Ashley Moody, the attorney general in Florida, appeals, of course, because they have to fight and hold on to every conviction. Like I said, even though he's already been in for over 30 years. So now it goes up to the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals.
Atlanta.
A 3-judge, panel. And they, it was actually in like Jacksonville though. It was like this hearing. Yeah, they'll like to have one there. And they held on to it for 2 years, all throughout COVID. This was like the weekend before the world went to shit. I remember it was like March 10th. I'm in Jacksonville. I'm driving back after the hearing, and my boss says, because of this thing that's out now, we're going to work from home for like 2 weeks and then come back. I'm like, okay, cool. Work from home.
Not thinking much of it.
2.5 years later, I'm still working from home. So, but
we are here.
Yeah, right. It was, like right before all that. So like just this year, I think it was April, the court ruled on the side of the state.
That blew me the fuck away.
Yeah.
Now he was out. Now let's go back.
I skipped something. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So
go ahead.
His attorneys, because the appeal was taking so freaking long, and he was basically had no conviction now. The Brady violation, it nullifies. Yeah. I was writing articles. He's the only guy in prison right now without this conviction.
He's an innocent man in prison.
And if he dies of COVID in prison, because it was spreading through, right? The state's gonna have blood on its hands anyway. So he gets released on house arrest. The guy is the most well-adjusted guy. I would love for you to go do a study of him. He's so soft-spoken. He's a mentor, church-going. The warden of his prison wrote an affidavit asking for his release.
Would he come on my show?
The warden?
No.
Green?
Green.
If his attorneys allowed it, and I don't know if he's allowed up here because he's on house arrest still, so he can go to work.
So he's not. I thought he.
No, he has the ankle bracelet.
Oh,
on.
They did.
Oh,
okay.
yeah. So he's out on the ankle bracelet,
but he's still not free.
You get 4 hours a week though.
Oh, stop! Don't even go into that. Let me explain a couple of things, John. You'll understand this. What people don't know out there is a criminal defense attorney is supposed to do everything in its power to get you out of prison. That's their job. A prosecutor's job is not just to win at all costs. It is to seek the truth.
Justice.
That's justice.
Right.
That is the job of the prosecutor. See, a judge, everyone thinks, the judge could do it. No, a judge is a referee in a case. Yep. That's what they are. And they call balls and strikes. That's Judge Silverman. He's my buddy, judge. I know him very well. We have a lot of judges come on.
Oh, that's cool.
And we just had Chief Judge Recklitzler.
Oh, nice.
We had her on. And she's a good woman, too. She goes with her knowledge.
She won her re-election, by the way.
She did win her election. Now, so that's what's got me with this case with these prosecutors. Now, I'd love to know personally, John. I know it's a question. This is what we do here. Is this guy white? A prejudiced guy? I mean, it seems like except for William Dillon, who's a white-haired blonde kid, 21 years old, probably jacking off on the beach, whatever the hell he was doing, in the wrong place at the wrong time. That's what happened to him.
Yeah.
Do you think they're just out to get maybe some black guys?
I don't, because Wilton Dedge is white also. So Juan Ramos was Cuban. I think they're just blinded, and they feel like they go with their initial gut and they build a case around a guy instead of letting the evidence
build a case.
You think they believe their own bullshit?
Yes, except that after you get these exonerations and after the DNA comes back, wouldn't you say, oh, shit, I should look at this case, I should fight this. Do you know that in Gary Bennett's case, and I know that I'm jumping around a little bit, he fought for DNA, right, in his case? Moxley, who was the prosecutor in his case, was a sitting judge, wrote a 10-page letter to the special prosecutor urging him not to do
the DNA.
Yeah, no,
I remember that.
Why? I mean, why would you not? If you've made one mistake, two mistakes, three mistakes, don't you want an innocent guy out of prison? That's the most un-American thing we can do in this country, is to lock up somebody who's innocent, right?
Oh, you're going to get, my podcast, and one of my platforms, John, is prison reform and criminal justice reform. That is one of my big platforms on both of my channels. And one of my things with the criminal justice system is, and I said it in the beginning again, is people are not able to change, their thought process. That's what I'm saying. If you can convince me with all this evidence like we're doing, you'll change my mind. No matter what, if I thought I was right or not. I'm man enough to say I was wrong.
Right.
Now, I can accept the man being wrong. And that happens, and mistakes happen. And as bad as they are, and the consequences are, I hope we don't have them, and I don't think people in power should have that many chances to keep making mistakes. But secondly, they have to be held accountable at some point. Why are we holding people in prison this long? Our prison system, first of all, let me get a quick link to the audience. Our prison system, I just watched a documentary from one of the guys from YouTube, Discord. Gave me a great thing. I'm actually going to review this. It's a very 13-minute document. I'm going to send it to the Florida today. It's that good on statistics, just so you guys can, maybe we'll do some partnership on something. But I can't, your research, John, first of all, I want to tell everybody, you're amazing at what you do. Because you give facts. You don't give I give opinions. Fuck it. This is my platform. I do. I mean, they're usually educated opinions and stuff. But you, and every time I watch you or read your stories, and I do, you can see the Florida Today right on my desk. Yeah. Fuck, yes, it's there. There's two of them. You see them?
I do see them.
And I read your stuff. I really do. And because of your reporting and how you do it. Where is the Dedge case right now as we sit here?
So Dedge is free. He's
free, but he's not a free man.
No, you mean Green, right?
I meant Crosley Green. I'm sorry.
Crosley Green, his case right now, so his attorneys are appealing the decision. So right now he's a murderer, and he has that conviction, and he has to serve his time. But his attorneys have fought for, and I believe won right now, him to be out on house arrest until their appeal is finished. So they're appealing the appellate court's ruling on the side of the state, and what they're asking for is en banc. Yep. So they want all.
En banc means the whole panel.
11 or 13 judges will hear the whole case and review it, and then issue whether the Brady violation occurred or not. And what the
seems like that's a cut and dry issue to me.
You would think, but the court ruled that even without that he would have been found guilty. And
I'm gonna give somebody
if the girl said
no, but here's how it goes, Benz. In the law, a lawyer. Let me just give you how the law works. And I did a case and an appeal in a case. We have the actual transcripts of a judge telling a lawyer, "You need sleep. Get up. Wake up." Nudging him. Wake up. The lawyer fell asleep the defense lawyer fell asleep at the trial. They found that they still had enough, and it wasn't enough to overturn the case because they would have still been convicted. Now, I don't know how that is. I mean, we had enough evidence in there, we thought, to get this thing in. We go, what the fuck do you got to do to change a mind sometimes?
Apparently, if your lawyer sleeps on the job, that's not enough.
Right.
In Gary Bennett's case, right, who's one of the guys who's still in prison, 30 years.
We're going to talk about that one after
the whole John Preston. Dean Moxley was a prosecutor at the time. In his closing argument, he said that the John Preston dog evidence is the equivalent of a fingerprint on a murder weapon, right? So if the jury hears that, right, okay, well, he's a prosecutor. We want to trust him. The dog stuff, it sounds like science to us. If he says it's like a fingerprint, then he must be guilty.
Where's the defense?
Well, yeah, he had horrible defense, but then Phil Archer, our current state attorney, won't look at the Gary Bennett case because he says to me that even without the dog handler stuff, he would have been found guilty. And I'm like, how could you possibly know that? How would you know that when the prosecutor is saying the dog evidence is like a fingerprint on a trigger of a gun?
What is there other evidence in a Bennett case? But let me close on the Green case. Yeah. Because the Green case, and there's another case too about the guy in the trailer, the
Abramowski.
Oh, what another case.
I could come back once a week and we could talk about these cases.
We're going to agree coming back.
I can tell that you both are familiar with it because he follows your work, and obviously you know what you're doing. I mean, nobody that's listening to this is going to say, well, this guy doesn't know everything. You know everything. I can tell. He's over here taking notes while reading his notes. Right. That's all I got to tell you.
And I got no notes.
Well, it doesn't. Well, hashtag never forget is Larry's hashtag.
Yeah, that's one of my, yeah.
But I think we're changing it to sometimes forget. Anyway, my point is I can tell that you guys know a lot about the same stuff, and you're jumping through cases. And for the audience, we'll come back and we'll kind of have a little bit of order in it. So you guys were going to summarize the Green case.
Right,
That's
so Green,
what my producer does.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, Ben. I'm just
Benz.
so like Benz.
Benz,
Yeah.
like Mercedes-Benz,
gotcha.
Benz. Yeah.
But
Benz.
nothing to do with Mercedes.
Gotcha. Is Benzie okay or no?
Whatever you want, man.
Okay. Good. I like Benzie.
There you go.
Yeah,
Hey,
that
we're going
works.
to change it. Oh, he's going to get a lot of email on that one.
So Green is out right now on house arrest. He's loving life. He loves strawberry ice cream. He said the best memory that he's had was this last Christmas because he took almost all the money that he made at his job, and he was able to buy Christmas gifts for all the women in the family, all of his like sisters, nieces, cousins, and he's never been able to do that. And he just,
I want to cry.
yeah,
It sounds like
I was
This is
crying when he told me.
This is like, I'm not kidding you.
Yeah,
This is fucking hit me.
He
As a
had-
man who was in prison for a long time,
Yeah.
and I was in for 12 years, and I know what I missed. I know the things with my children. My daughter was 15 months old when I went to prison. My son was 7. I was guilty, though. Trust me, I was a bad guy. You didn't want to meet me back then. But people change. And to see what turns people on and makes them excited. Who we got?
Garfield.
Oh, we got to stop. I know it's a tough time. Get in here, buddy. Garfield. This is our mailman.
You weren't kidding.
This is the real. This is John Torres, Garfield, from the Florida Today.
How you doing?
We don't kid. This is the real deal.
Hey, brother, how are you?
He comes, he'll get water, he drops my mail. I have a mail system here too, because
Yeah.
I sell books and.
Right.
Oh, hell yeah. There we go. I've been waiting for that one.
Is it my corporate?
Read your mail right now, Larry.
Is it a check? Is it a big check?
It's not a check, but
I
it is
wish.
something important.
It's our cigar company stuff. But we're doing a great podcast here with John. You hit me hard. You really did with that. And I don't get hit hard as much as I used to because of the memories that flood back to me with my children. And I'm so, I guess, I wish I could go up. I will go talk to him. And I would.
And that's somebody
I will
who
take,
did it.
I will take. Yeah, and
You were guilty.
I was guilty.
Imagine all this time, and you know for a fucking fact in your heart of hearts that you did nothing wrong.
Right.
You just came out of prison after whatever fucking drug things that he did, so he even cleared his name for that. Came out.
He served his
100
time, right?
Came out
Exactly.
100% clean, and then got thrown in. So if you're feeling the feelings that you're feeling right now, and you were guilty,
You know, I often said that. You know, when I was in prison, people who know my story, I was strapped down naked, beaten, and tortured in prison. You read the book. We'll do something with the Florida Today. On that. But anyway, I was guilty, and I used to say to myself all the time, and I did a lot of law work for 10 years, and I saw innocent men, and it used to rip me apart. Or so egregious convictions that you get so mad that you, like you said, come on, where do we live? Do we live in a really, truly justice system, or do we live in a fucking pick your own and fuck somebody system? Right. And it used to hurt me to think, how do people? I used to talk about with Bill Dillon. He's 27 years, raped in prison. And this guy is, he's so well adjusted. He plays a guitar. How he's not. I don't know how I couldn't be bitter. And I've tried not to be bitter.
Well, they all have that in common because Wilton Dedge, and with William Dillon, I think he found God.
I think so.
In prison. Wilton Dedge, he came out and he's been traveling all over the country. I think he has his motorcycles and his camper, and that's what he does. Yeah, Dedge.
No, but he's convicted.
No,
Green.
Yeah.
Oh,
So like
what happens when you go between them.
Yeah.
Wilton Dedge was the guy that was in there for rape, and he was exonerated.
Totally exonerated. Got $1 million.
Yeah, and so I asked him one time about being angry, and he said, if I was to hold on to the anger, I might as well just be back in prison. Like
I talk about that on my show. I talk about, John, I never use the word hate. And the reason I don't use it is because hate hurts me. It keeps eating at me inside. When you hate somebody or something, it eats at you.
You're right, yeah.
I was strapped down naked and beaten, and I was in the hole for 11 straight, 3 years in the hole in prison. And I was beaten and taken out at what they call 4-point U, and guards were pissing on my face and spitting on me, and they would say, "Keep writing senators, Lord. Keep fucking. Nobody listens to you." But I planned their murders for 5 years, and I mean that. Wow. I mean that's how hate and the negativity I had in me, and it took many, many years, over 5 years, 7 more than that, to say I would. I got to get it out of me. I got to fucking now. I actually feel bad for them. Because they must live the worst fucking lives in the world.
Exactly.
Their wives must beat the shit out of them. That doesn't mean I like them. Doesn't mean I want to need. I mean, I have nothing for them. But they must have such a fucked up life that they had to go abuse somebody who's in the worst part of his life. Right. So that's how I justify
guilty or innocent.
Who?
Doesn't matter if they're guilty or innocent. This is a person in front of you. They're serving time for whatever they did. The system had already put them there.
You're great because you listen so much. I say that, what I always say is, listen, prison's about getting away from your family, losing your freedom. It's not about getting another punishment from another organization, the BOP or a prison system or whatever it is. And we know that's the biggest broken system in the world. If you've been reading in Senate hearings with USP Atlanta, what's going on there, and I was there for years, so I told you my claim to fame, John, is I'm on the same page as Al Capone in Atlanta prison. Whitey Bulger, Jimmy Burke from Goodfellas, Ponzi. I'm on the same page as all those guys. Man, that's pretty good. No, actually, a fan told me that. But let's get back to Murder on the Space Coast. We just went over the Green case. Where is the Green case? I want to finalize the Green case with the audience and go to a couple others. Where is the Green case?
So he's out on house arrest, but he lost his appeal, and he's out on house arrest while his lawyers are appealing the latest ruling. So they want a hearing en banc to plead his case of actual innocence and the like Brady violation and all that, so that he can be cleared once and for all.
Has that been granted? They don't have to do that.
They don't have to do that. No, they haven't ruled on it yet. And it's funny because they told me to expect a ruling within a few weeks. It's been like about 4 months now, and I keep checking in. They haven't heard anything. So
the court system is very, very
a few dozen weeks.
A day in the court system is like a month than anywhere else. At minimum.
Is there a chance this Green can go back?
Yes.
That's what's worrying me right now.
And he has no DRs on his record at all. Like he has no infractions.
Well, that's doesn't mean anything to me, and it's weird. Actually,
he was apparently a mentor to the younger angry guys in prison. The warden wrote a glowing letter, and at his resentencing in 2010, 2 actual officers from the prison came and spoke on his behalf. Wow! This guy is just—he's not a threat to society. He's not a violent, angry man at all. And he told me himself that he made a decision about 3.5 years into his stint on death row that he had to give up the anger.
Wow. Otherwise, he'd be dead. I would love, and if you could reach out to somebody.
I will, yeah.
I will take the show to his house. I have a big RV that I could take up, and we set up a studio right on his property, and you and I will go do that with
I'd
Jason,
love that.
Okay? If they want, and they will get it out. Here's what we want to do. We don't want to, listen, I don't go after people. I don't do that. That's not how we work in this show. But we want to highlight it, and we want to let everybody, like you're doing.
Yeah.
What you're doing with the Florida Today and your Murder on the Space Coast podcast is highlighting what's going on. And we need to do that. If we don't do that, we're going to be in a bad way. Now, this thing moves. This podcast it flies by, doesn't it?
It does.
You get the mailman popping in. Of course it flies by. But no, so what I'd like to know is, in that case, please do that for us. We'll keep our audience. I just did a video 2 days ago on a warden, a head of food service, the head of safety, the chaplain, and a tech guy. The chaplain was just sentenced to 7 years for raping women in FCI Dublin,
I saw
California.
that on your YouTube channel. I saw that.
On my YouTube. And
Disgusting.
And the warden, you're talking about the warden is now, and he had what they call a superseding indictment, which means is you get indicted and then you fuck up more, or they find more shit, and they what they call a superseding indictment. So the warden just got a superseding indictment last Wednesday for more cases of the warden raping these girls.
Good Lord.
This is the fucking system we're working in once they're there. So to even, I want to, again, that law firm, I'll shout them out all day long who are trying to help this young man get out.
Crowell and Mooring, from Washington.
We're going to put them, or talk, please. I'd love to talk to one of the lawyers or whatever.
And, I have like somebody else that would be perfect on your show. I don't know if you've ever spoken to Nino Lyons at all.
No.
Nino Lyons, oh my gosh, if you Google him, and he's one that I almost like forgot about, but he was in this whole mix, except his was like a federal case. This guy was a Rockledge, basketball legend, All-American. Went to UF on a full scholarship, hurt his knee, so he came back at Florida Tech, is in the Hall of Fame at Florida Tech, led them to a national championship for D2, Hall of Fame, All-American basketball player, mentor, ran church camps for kids, opened up a clothing store in Cocoa, a nightclub in Cocoa. His wife was the principal of Endeavor Elementary School. This was around the time when the Cocoa cops were doing stop and frisks on black guys in Cocoa. So he would videotape them when it was happening. And the city of Cocoa had to pay out a settlement. And I guess that must have been what rankled people the wrong way, because suddenly the FBI raids this guy's house. They don't find anything. They raid his businesses. They don't find anything. There's no wiretaps.
What raiding it for what?
Drug, and money laundering.
Okay.
Both things, like a big conspiracy case. He goes to, he's arrested. They have nothing.
Nothing.
They ended up, just parading 26 convicted felons in a row to say that we bought drugs from Nino Lyons.
What year was this?
Geez, I want to say it's the very early 80s. But
way back.
Don't
so
quote
it's still back then.
No, you know what? It might
Had
be
to
the
be
90s.
later than that.
Yeah, it was
Stop
the
and Frisk was in the 90s.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that was like the 90s. And again, I apologize to your.
That was the 90s in New York.
You're right. I don't know.
And then
might have been later.
I think it was 90s here because when I came down here in 2001, he was just getting out of prison after 3 years. So he won his case. He was found guilty, about to be sentenced. He was facing life in prison, right? And it turns out that all 26 guys were coached on what to say. Many of them were in prison during the times that they said they were buying drugs from him. So the case is bullshit, right?
Again, where's the lawyers?
District, our federal court judge, Gregory Presnell, I think was the guy, actually issued a
directed verdict
proclamation of actual innocence. And he got, freed after 3 years.
the jury.
Yes.
That's very rare.
After sentencing, because it was
very rare.
It was all brought to light that,
Right.
the only evidence were these felons, and they were.
And a federal judge can do that, obviously.
And so, but he has a great story, and he's a well-spoken guy. He's a real leader in the Cocoa Rockledge area. Yeah,
that'd be a great case.
Great guy,
absolutely,
absolutely. Yeah, if you hook us up, it'd be great. Now let's get back to So the Greens, we're waiting just to find out.
We're waiting. Yep.
How is he? I mean, it's got to fucking eat at him.
know.
I'd be thinking about leaving. I'm just saying,
I know.
At what point do you say, this is so unfair?
An innocent man doesn't think like a criminal, Larry. He's not thinking about leaving.
No, you're probably right,
You're absolutely
Ben.
right.
I'm not I never was innocent.
Right.
He's accepted whatever's going to happen. And him and his lawyer, they love to quote this in a saying. It's been attributed to Abraham Lincoln and Martin Luther King, but I think somebody else actually said it. The arc of justice is long. No, sorry. The arc. Oh, shucks. I just had it. But it bends toward justice. The arc of life is long, but it bends toward justice. So eventually he'll be cleared, is what he thinks. And
the truth always comes out.
Yeah,
I believe that, but to a degree, of course.
Yeah, people die in prison all the time.
We know of people who are actually innocent who were executed. That's why another reason I don't believe in the death penalty, and that's why I'm not a Kamala Harris fan, to be honest. What she did to the people in California who were actually innocent, and they were on.
Don't get me started.
Don't get me on that. So, and I don't like that about. I really don't. Right. Well, so I feel for him, and if I could ever, and if you could ask them, I'd love to go up there and talk to him and give him support in some way I can. I mean, I just don't like what happens in our own systems. Now, before we're gonna one more case I want to talk to you about, and that's a case, and it happened about it's a trailer park, It's a guy named
Abramowski.
I'm so bad. Everybody knows I suck with names anyway.
Jeff Abramowski.
I know John Torres.
Right.
I mean, it's fucking easy. Larry Lawton, I know Jason's name.
And Benzie.
Benzie. Oh,
I like that.
I do. So give us the background, give the audience the background right here. And this is the case here.
Yeah. Jeff Abramowski was a stay-at-home dad raising 2 beautiful kids. His daughter, Jamie, she's my hygienist. She's awesome. She's amazing. A amazing girl, mother, wife. So he was a stay-at-home dad. He's driving them to school one morning, right here on the corner of Babcock and Palm Bay. And he gets...
Around the corner.
Yeah.
I told you it's right here. That's why I know.
He gets T-boned, right? He goes to the hospital. Ribs are broken, all types of crap, right? And he is put on opioids.
He gets addicted. I do know that.
He becomes an addict. He loses his wife. He loses his family.
Him and hundreds of thousands of other people.
Yes. Yeah. And season 6 of my podcast is all about opioids, and which isn't out yet. But we will talk about that in a second if we can. But
we will.
So he ends up hanging around with this guy, Courtney Crandall, out there right near the old Florida Today building on US 1 in Palm Shores at some trailer park.
Right. It's right near Vieira.
Yeah. And this Courtney Crandall apparently is not a very nice guy. People hate him. He's like a junk man, sort of. He sells things, antiques, but he sells opioids. What he does is he takes these addicts and he goes, doctor shopping. So they get all these prescriptions. He pays for all the visits, all the crap, and he gets half the pills or more. And then he sells them, right? So meanwhile, if this guy is dating this woman from Alabama and her slutty sister, right? Just weird. And her adult son, Bruce, is living with them. Bruce and the old man hate each other. And they actually got into a fist fight, a physical altercation. The week before he dies. They say that Jeff went to his house and beat him to death with a hammer and left him there because he was angry at him for, ditching him on the road one day. He was driving him around and supposedly he said, get out of the car, and he just left him. Jeff's not like that. Jeff's the kind of guy that he will forget something in 5 minutes. He's not one to
hold a grudge.
Anyway.
But they did find him in Alabama with the 2 girls.
No. Jeff was found here, and whoever killed the old man left a few $100 in his pocket and about 90
pills.
Yeah,
that's not going to happen if he's an addict.
If Abramowski did it, there's no way he's leaving that stuff, right?
He's not taking. He's taking those pills.
That's a fact, right there.
Yeah.
That night, before the old man is found dead, his girlfriend, her sister, and their adult son are driving up to Alabama.
Okay, that's who. I remember somebody was stopped in Alabama.
And they're found in Alabama at these, rinky-dink hotels, and they're hitting every meth clinic on the way for their methadone because they're all junkies. Their stories are so inconceivable, and all 3 of them, we have the tapes. None of them have the same story as to what time they left, why they left, where they were going. Nobody says the same thing. Bruce has a black eye or something from, and he claims it was from the fight last week with the old man. It sounded like the 2 cops, which was Gary Harrell and either Alex Herrera or I can't think of they interviewed him, and you're thinking, okay,
what department?
Sheriff's office.
But how does the sheriff's department handle a case where this happened in a trailer home, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, in Palm Shores.
Palm Shores is county.
Oh, okay,
county,
that's
yeah.
why. Okay, I forgot that.
So they go up, and all 3 people, when they're interviewed, they say, and they have these really heavy Alabama accents, right? Really heavy, hard to understand. But they basically say, and they mispronounce his name, all 3 of them, you should take a look at Alborowski or something like that. This guy Alborowski's been hanging around, and all 3 of them say it. It just sounds so set up and so phony. It's not me. We fled in the middle of the night, but it wasn't us. My black eye is nothing. They also had a chain that
from the old man. I remember
that his daughter bought him, and she said that he would never, ever, ever give that to anybody.
Didn't they want that chain back? They kept saying something about that chain.
And so they have it now. And like they said, he just gave it to us. And the daughter called, that's
bullshit.
That's bullshit. Anyway, Jeff has alibis, right? Was out, like this, that. He had a very small bit of contact sort of DNA. I'm trying to remember was found on the old man, right? Under his nail. That can't exclude Jeff. It's not a perfect match, and it's not blood. It's just DNA. So in other words, you've been handling this lighter, right? Your DNA is on that. If I touch this lighter and I scratch it a little bit, I could have some of your DNA under my nails.
Okay.
It's, like touch DNA or like contact DNA. I spoke to a DNA expert for the podcast who explained that she did this test where she had somebody come to use her keyboard on her desk, and and then her DNA got transferred to something of that woman's that she never touched, and so it's it's
not conclusive,
right? And it's just a minuscule amount. That's the only thing. So they're saying that Jeff went there on Saturday morning and killed this guy, but people have come forward even before the trial to say, no, we saw the old man Saturday night. We even saw him on Sunday, I think, and this and that.
So he couldn't have been dead.
Right. So our medical examiner at the time, who I have his name here somewhere, he said, and I mean, I have never heard anything like this. He's asked, what was the time of death? What can you estimate? He goes, you can't do that. What do you mean? I've seen every TV show. You can estimate the time of death.
I've seen it in court. I've seen it in records. They do it.
Yeah. He said, well, from the last time somebody saw him alive to when we showed up this morning and he's dead. That's the time frame.
So a week.
Yeah. It was a long weekend. And what that did was basically sealed Jeff's fate because the cops were saying it happened Saturday morning. Well, Jeff had an alibi for Saturday morning.
And not only Saturday morning.
That leaves 6 other fucking days.
And he couldn't have been killed because some storm Sunday.
Right. And so, anyway, again, it would be funny if it wasn't so tragic. Jeff, the first trial ends in a mistrial. Okay. The wife of the attorney that was handling his case, he was a public defender. The wife of his was a private attorney, is a private attorney. And she was having mental problems. She is bipolar, I believe, and she's on medicine. Well, she wasn't on her meds, and when she's not on her meds, she thinks that she can handle anything. So she went to the jail and convinced Abramowski to hire her pro bono because she wanted the case because she felt he was innocent. She had never done a murder trial.
Right, I read
had only done one other felony trial. Had no DNA experience
or even what to do.
And so she went in there and it was bad.
Where is he now?
He is in Port St. Lucie in prison, Indian River County. This is, in August, we're in September now. Holy crap. It's been 20 years. So he's been 20 years in prison.
And is there an innocent project helping his case now? Is anybody doing his case?
A local attorney, I understand, is working on his case.
You know him?
Some private investigators. Yeah, I do know him.
And you want to shout him out? Or?
It's, Kevin McCann.
Kevin McCann is the attorney now who's handling the case for appeal.
Right.
I hope he has federal experience. Did they go through the state system in appeals? Because you have to go through a state system before you can get to the federal system.
Yeah, here's the thing with this case. It's like everything that could go wrong. It's almost like Jeff belongs in prison because the fates just deemed it. So they, Jamie and her family don't have a lot of money, So they scraped up 10 grand and they hired Paul Bross.
I know who Paul Bross is. And,
Paul Bross has been was in trouble with drugs and disbarred.
He was just disbarred.
Yeah, the appeal process, went nowhere because he didn't file stuff on time, supposedly, and so they were,
there's where
shit
you
out
get.
Of luck. And
that's when you get to the state. Now, I think it's a 3150 in the state is an ineffective assistance of counsel in the state. Then after the state, you have to file all the way through the Supreme Court in the state to get to the feds. And then once you get to the feds, then it's a different animal. You can do certain things. Is there a way to follow this case?
Well, it's on my podcast. It's, season 4 of the podcast.
How many seasons you in, John?
We have like 5 in the bank, and one is about to come out. Like season 6. It's called Monster on the Beach.
And how many episodes per season?
Yeah. We record them and we edit them because I don't like when I'm like So
well, we'll do that for you.
We'll do that for you. Now you see, we just play this. Yeah. This is not.
I like this format.
Yeah, people don't understand. This is up in an hour.
Yeah, this will be up as soon as
you'll be on all over the place in an hour or two right after this.
It takes us weeks, like once everything's recorded and stuff.
How many episodes a year do you do? A season.
It like really depends on the story. Like Crosley Green was so in depth that I think we did like 13 episodes
on him, on
his case. It's so in depth. We go into every little detail of the case.
And how long are your podcasts?
The average drive in Brevard County is like 25 minutes. So we try to keep them around 25 minutes long.
I want them sitting in their driveway listening to you.
Yeah, I know.
That's what I like when they tell us, "Oh, Larry, we were watching your show. We listened. We were in the driveway."
I love that you thought about the average drive length around here. I mean, that's
we don't.
Right, that's dedication.
We go until Larry says, "Fuck it."
And
yes, that's true.
And Benzie, what I love, like what Larry was saying before about you can change his mind. We never go into these seasons knowing how we feel about the case. Like with Gary Bennett, he was kind of a shady guy. He was in trouble a lot. Minor crap. He's. I interviewed him in prison. He's like rough around the edges. Obviously he's been in there for like over 30 years, but. We went back and forth every day. I think he's guilty. I think he's innocent. But the case is worth looking at. And then after everything was said and done, we totally believe that he's innocent.
I like that. That makes the podcast more interesting.
Well, again, I told you I've been following him, and not only in the papers. I listened to shows. I was going to go to one of his shows, the one in when you did
in Cocoa Beach.
Yeah, Cocoa Beach. And I'm so busy, obviously. We travel, and that's why we do this the way we do. We do tape occasionally. Even that tape ones, we call them tape to live, meaning. There's never editing on these.
Right.
Obviously, the TV one, the one on YouTube, you'll see it where it's not, because the screens will be different and stuff like that. But that's it. We don't edit any of the comments. We don't edit any of the content.
Right.
It is what it is, the real deal. Right. And you see it on the big sign. That's a nice sign, huh?
That sign is awesome.
I love my fucking sign.
I'm going to pose in front of that later.
Oh, no, we're going to take a picture. We have to take some pictures for our podcast.
Season 1 of the podcast, because it was a really learning curve. My editor, Mara, who's awesome and is a big supporter, Mara Bellaby, she wanted me to recap the case every episode. So people were like, it's too repetitive. Because
people will tell you what they like.
I spend the first 10 minutes, recapping everything that you've heard.
The nice thing about a podcast, if you need to recap,
just go back and listen.
Exactly. Well, and what I tell people too, like our podcast, again, you can listen to them, you can do them, and we listen to our audiences, but we have our own. The reason we came with the real deal is because we believe people want to be in on a conversation like we were sitting in this room. You could have brought somebody here. I didn't tell you that. Anybody could come, sit in the couch and listen. Matter of fact, we're going to do that with fans. They want to come and they're going to come. We're doing a cruise, you heard earlier, with the fans. So we're going to, we listen, come on in here. And if it's interesting, and Benz runs the boards and produces. So if there's something that we need said here, hey, what do they're people. So it's like you're in a conversation. We're having a conversation, John. You know that.
Well, and you may have a first here. I got to pee really bad. Can I just run to the bathroom?
You sure can. Get up right there. Jason will help you.
Thanks.
And I'll talk to. No, this is the real. I love this. This
real
makes
deal,
it even
baby.
better. That's great. I mean, I'm gonna talk to Benz about. Is that amazing? I love this. I love a person that's so prepared, educated about their topic, like I am with
he knows the cases up and down and all around. But I mean, this is what he does, right? You want to, if you're going to do anything, might as well do it right.
I talk about that a lot with cigars. We got the cigar launch and everything coming up. And I wanted another shout out. We are sponsored by Oliva Cigars.
Oh, hell yeah. I just had one.
And I did too. And we are sponsored by Oliva. And to let everybody know, if you're listening to this today, next Friday, today's Friday, what is today, 2nd? Yeah, September 2nd.
Yep.
Next Friday, which is the 9th, we are going to have the CEO of American Operations for Oliva on our show. And we're going to be talking cigars. We're going to be talking stuff. Benji, I know you're loving that.
I can't wait.
And so just stay tuned. That's going to be a great show. And he's one of our sponsors. and he's a great guy, and we're going to be talking to him about cigars in Nicaragua and different stuff. And you're going to really be in on that one. I know that. I mean, I enjoy it, you know,
Sure.
and the cigars. And but to have guests that are this educated on their topic is always fun. What
really
we do,
is.
and we're just talking about. He's back. John's back. And again, this is the real deal, and we like that. It is nothing wrong with that. We believe in that. If that makes it turn it, there you go. We believe in that, John. And the reason we believe in it is because when you start totally, people think, oh, you cut out this stuff. Did he really say this? People on us go, no, fucking you guys are great. We did our 100th episode.
Wow.
And we got fucking so fucked up in here. We had a party.
That was a fun episode.
We had guests in here, and and we had friends in here, and we're popping champagne, and this place was a party.
Larry got hit. Larry got hit in the face with confetti.
That's all over the internet. So it, you know, the whole thing was a lot of fun, and we, you know, what we always talk about is the people we work with. You said you get along. We really I like the people I'm around.
Yeah.
And you know, at this point in my life, I'm 60 years old. I'm not gonna fucking, you know, be things you don't like to do anymore. So, and we have a big cigar launch coming. So we're busy, and we're going to talk to Florida today. We're going to have fun with them, you know.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, without a doubt.
they didn't even know we had this. I mean, you know, people come in here.
I was stunned when I saw this like studio. This is really cool.
Thank you very much. You know, we had Randy Lanier. Did you see that episode?
No, I didn't.
Randy Lanier is a Netflix series. He's on Netflix in season. I think it was season 2, episode 2.
No, episode 2 of. There's only one season.
Yeah,
of that show.
it's called Bad Sports on Netflix, and it's called The Need for Weed. In the 80s, he was one of the biggest pot dealers in the United States. You know where his first 2 loads of pot came in?
Where?
Melbourne Beach.
Oh, jeez.
15,000 pounds and 18,000 pounds. He did 27. Wow. He had a life sentence. He got out. Caught the DEA stealing money, and they were suing them and all that. He ended up got a time served to get out at 27 years. I knew the same. Him and I really clicked because we were in the same prisons and stuff like that. And we knew the same people and stuff. But Randy came on. He came down from South Florida. He came on up. And his case is amazing because he ended up having his last load of marijuana was 165,000 pounds. 82 tons
Holy crap.
of marijuana coming into the United States. And he did. He funded his. He became a rookie of the year in the Indy 500. I mean, yeah, he became a famous Indy driver.
Jesus.
He funded it all with marijuana.
Well, yeah, it was a great show. We were here for 2 hours. Got pretty hammered too.
Yeah, there was a lot going on. Yeah,
and you know, like I said, you could drink here, you can do things here,
sure.
and it's not that. Listen, we're not drug addicts. We like to smoke. We're all medical marijuana guys, and we're all, you know, we'll have a drink or two, and we do that because this is a conversation having it, and you're going to be welcomed on our show anytime you want.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And I because I think you're interesting. Is there anything you want to talk about? But we did a little bit at the cases. You know, I really wanted to open people's eyes to the cases of your podcast, Murder on the Space Coast. Check it out, please. You get sucked into these episodes, and you could find them on John's podcast called Murder on the Space Coast. He is the host. Do you have anybody else with you?
Nope, it's just me.
Wow, you do it all. Yeah. Isn't that great? I love that.
Well, I have Rob Landers edits them for me, so he puts them all together.
Sure.
We choose music together. I give him the scripts, and I give him all the sound clips because like what it is I'll interview a ton of people, or I will get old police interviews, and we'll break up the clips so we can tell the story.
Question for your show, because have you had any of the people, the prosecutors on? Have you asked them to come on? Have you did anything of that nature?
The prosecutors won't talk to me, but we've had audio from court hearings and things like that of them. So
what about the cops? Would the 2 cops on the Green case they already stated that they believed that he was innocent?
Yes, I had Clark and Rixie on the podcast, and that they both spoke to me about it, and they both agree that he's innocent, and they actually show up at all the appeals for him.
Good for them.
Yeah.
See, now that's good cops.
Yeah.
Cops to me are supposed to be that way. They're supposed to look for the right. Call me a traditionalist. I believe. Listen, I come from New York City, the Bronx, and Brooklyn.
I'm the Bronx too. Yeah.
Yeah. I believe. I went to Lehman High School.
I went to Cardinal Spellman.
Oh my God, he nice shit. I went to the fucking zoo. He goes to Cardinals. My old partner, not my old man who started my YouTube with me, Peter, my manager, went to Cardinal Spellman. He ended up going to Baruch
Is there
College.
anybody in Florida that didn't come from New York?
No.
Okay, even Central Florida or Philly. Where you're from?
I'm from Philly, but I feel like everybody we talk to here in Florida is from.
Yeah, it is true. But anything you'd like to say here for the podcast or your podcast or anything you want to promote?
Yeah, well, I just want to add one thing real fast. In the Jeff Abramowski case, and I'm sorry that I had forgotten about this, but Jeff, the body Courtney Crandall is found clutching a handful of hair.
The body he supposedly killed.
Right. The guy who's dead is clutching hair that belongs to his girlfriend or her son. It's like that DNA.
Not his.
Right. And the son's blood is in the sink trap of the old man's private bathroom. Not Jeff's. It was.
And how does prosecutors explain that? It had to explain
because the attorneys were not prepared and not good. And,
I got a question.
Sure.
We said that if it was a junkie that had killed him, it definitely would have taken the pills out of his pocket. I agree with that. I mean, that's facts. But weren't they junkies as well?
They were, but I think it was not a planned thing. I think it was an argument, a fight or something, and the old man went down, and they realized, oh shit, he's dead. We got to get out of here. That's what I think happened.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
they scrammed real quick.
Yeah. And he's not. Again, he's got an attorney. You said, but as a man who's in prison, and when these things happen, one thing I've learned in prison was patience. Because, I used to do appeals from the hole. I sued the prisons. I did so many things. And you have to wait, and it's 30 days out, and you're writing in handwriting in at that point. I don't know, today I think they even have stuff in the law libraries. But we had to do things, and you learn patience. So I'm sure that guy Jeff has some patience. But at what point do you say, fuck it? Right. When do you give up?
I don't think he ever will. But unfortunately, the two women in the case are dead. One was a suicide, and one was a car
they're
accident.
dead now.
They're dead. And Bruce Foley, the son, apparently he's had a stroke or something. He's up in Alabama somewhere, and he's not doing well. Yeah, he's messed up. And but I've had family members of those people call me and tell me horror stories of how bad they were. The three of them were just bad people.
I really, it's hard for me to ever take something like that and then pass it to another, because people could have a bad time here, have a bad thing with their wife. They're always yelling at their neighbor. They say he's an asshole. It doesn't mean he killed the guy next door.
Right, that's true.
So I always try not to surmise something else.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Right.
And I think people should always be cautious of that. Besides that, though, obviously I'm an evidence guy. I mean, DNA. I'm even a big proponent of DNA should be done a lot quicker. When you have it takes nothing to do DNA. Obviously you got to go to a lab. It's got to be, logged in, and has to chain.
In today's world,
it's called
be
but it's called the chain of custody, and you have to do certain things with evidence. And I agree with all of that. But it should not be taking years to do that and to exonerate people.
It shouldn't take years. And what this DNA expert told me, and it was an interesting point, she said that prosecutors are using it now to their advantage just by saying, DNA. It could be touch DNA, blood DNA and semen DNA are what we need to be looking at in, like in crimes.
Well, that's hard DNA. It's like millions and millions to one that it is the one.
She says a jury hears DNA and it's over. It's okay. He's guilty.
They don't specify the type of DNA.
Well, like they do. But if you've ever sat through one of these trials, it's hard following the science. Sometimes.
So it's up to the attorney, whether it's the prosecutor or the other, to spell it out. Yes. What type of DNA that is and how that differs from other types of DNA.
Yes.
Well, again, most of these cases you're going to find a common denominator, the lawyering, the original lawyer.
Right.
It's a common denominator. And, and again, that's a part of my issue with our system. I believe, what happens in courts is the prosecutors have all the money in the world. A public defender who's doing somebody does not.
Right.
They have a budget. They can't get the expert they need. They do certain things, or they don't know. They don't have the experience. I've always believed that if you're facing that kind of a crime in this country, pushed by our state, our government, our people, the people, they should have as much money as it takes that the prosecutor has to put on that defense. That's I believe if they did that, I think you'd have a more fairer system.
Sure,
because then you would get better attorneys to actually take some of these cases.
I agree.
Because they have what they call appointed attorneys. Not only do they have public defenders, they have there's a court-appointed attorney. And they're getting shitty money per hour. You know that. They're not getting what a real, a Jerry Shargell or somebody like that.
Their caseload. Their caseload.
Yeah, exactly. Well, again, and even a private attorney who's they're appointed. They're private attorneys.
Right.
They still have to feed their families. They do this and stuff. We were so good in the Fed system, us guys, because all we did was one fucking case for fucking a year. I mean, 20 hours a day, 15 hours a day. You know what I mean? That's what we did. We didn't have families to go home, though we didn't do certain things. So that's a pull system in me. With that case, anything else you want to say?
Just,
yeah, please.
With the lawyering, and if I'm talking too much now, we have to
No.
end it.
Wait. Listen, this is our thing.
The other thing that they
I got a cigar, we're good.
In all these cases was the dog handler, right? Crappy evidence, but they also had, conflict attorneys. What they would do in the cases of like Dej, Dylan, Ramos, Gary Bennett, they got somebody from the jail to act as a snitch. They made sure that the person from the jail was represented by the public defender's office. So now you have a conflict of interest. So the judges back then used to be able to assign, or the prosecutor's office, I don't know who it was.
No, but it was the judge.
Yeah. And so they had a stable of guys who couldn't make it on their own, basically. Lawrence Leadus, for Gary Bennett, he lived above the wet spot bar.
Oh my God! Right here on US 1.
He was apparently a drunk, and he was good for like little bar fight cases, things like, but not a capital murder case. In William Dillon's case, his attorney, I think his name was Clark. His son called me years later and said my dad should never have been on that case. He was a hopeless alcoholic. He couldn't handle anything. Was out of his mind.
Oh, that was the son of the attorney.
Yeah,
Wow.
Call me. So so it was this 1-2 punch of a jailhouse snitch, the dog handler, and a crappy attorney. And the jailhouse informants are so funny to me because that's what we do, right? If you're innocent, or even if you're guilty, you go into the jail and you spill your guts to a total stranger while you're awaiting trial to prove how innocent you are. You know what I mean?
Well, obviously it doesn't make sense, and we know that. But what has happened is it's kind of like you're getting double barreled.
Yep.
You got the prosecutors not playing fair, withholding evidence, Brady violations, and then you have an attorney who's either incompetent. Now I'm not going to or outright don't give a fuck or want to make favor with the state, so they don't want to get the next case or something. Because what he's saying is attorneys go into a pool. What happens? An attorney
it's changed now, and it's a better system now, but. It used to be basically just
right,
a handful of guys that they would pick from,
and what they would do is they would take that guy, and again they're giving him $50 an hour. I think it was back then even, and where an attorney at that time was getting $200 an hour, $250 an hour. Now they're getting $400 for whatever. But it's not just the money. If you could charge that money, you're good. You got a lot of people off you. You understand the law. You understand DNA. You understand innocence. That's why the big firms that have the backing and the money are helping. Obviously, with the Green case. That's the reason he's back.
Yep.
Obviously, and you know that. And I wish we can get more lawyers who, and I understand it. I really do, how much time it takes reading these things. I've read briefs. I've read more motions I can shake a stick at. So it's a tough system, but we have to he has to do what he keeps doing. I have to keep doing it. We have to keep opening people's eyes to the system because it could be you. Anybody out there listening, it could be you. Yep. Don't think it can't. I mean, I was in the system. I've seen the system. It could be me. And I'm cautious about a lot of things. You know that. And I believe because people don't play fair. And it's sad when the people we pay, because taxpayers are paying these people, we pay them, and then they're still not playing fair.
Not only that we pay them, our lives are in their hands.
Yes. And, and it's a shame you have to, you have to be nice to people, do certain things. Shouldn't have to. I'm nice to everybody. It's not like I'm not nice. But my point is, it shouldn't matter if a guy was an asshole or not. A prosecutor's job should be to seek the truth. Period. End of story. If it exonerates the guy, exonerate him. If it convicts him, convicts him. And you shouldn't be thrown with 5 fucking things into your face, and you can't refute them. And then still not change your mind.
Yeah.
It blows me away.
It does.
But we are going to, anything else you want to pop in?
Well, if you want to get my book, it's called Paradise Rolling. It's a crime fiction book. It's based on a reporter in his 50s who's hooked on OxyContins, and he's trying to clear
You
a
gonna sell
guy.
me some?
Yeah.
I'm only kidding.
And it's actually based on some of these cases, but it's fictionalized, and it's based. If you like Murder on the Space Coast, grab my book on Amazon. It's called Paradise Rolling. John
And
Torres.
we'll put is there a link in there? Do you have a website too? Do you have
no, I don't, but I will send you something. Yeah.
Yeah, send us send it.
And I will
you
send
got to
you a book,
send it
too.
now.
Yeah.
Because it's going up
get it
right
for you
now.
after the show.
Right after the show,
Yeah,
we'll get it
we'll
for
do
you.
it.
And we'll put all John's information and his stuff, his murder space, because all the stuff in the descriptions below, everybody. Anything else before
I guess that's it. Just
we're gonna have you back.
season 6 is
Guaranteed.
coming up. Yeah, because we got to talk about season 3 of the podcast was Brandy Hall. That's the
We're
firefighter who went missing. Yeah.
Oh yes, over here in Palm Bay.
Yes, in Palm Bay.
We will do that one.
You got to do that one.
Ben, do you have anything?
If you're not on Instagram, at that Benz, at Real Larry Lawton. Don't forget to get a giveaway, thatbenz.com/giveaway. Easy as subscribing to 2 YouTube channels, our YouTube channels, and joining our mailing list. That's about it.
That's all you got to do. And we have the cigar launch. That website
October
is
3.
It's crookeddiamondcigar.com, crookeddiamondcigar.com. And you're going to see stuff on that we're giving a free T-shirts away with orders as well.
With the pre-orders.
And they're a cigar club. I mean, that is just, they're limited edition, 500 shirts that are a cigar club. And we're launching this thing all over the world. So it's going to be an exciting month for us. But, we're going to keep the podcast. John, you will be back. Please.
Thanks. Thank you. This was awesome.
Thank you very
good
much.
having
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
You're really a great guest and very educated. And we love it because, one, we believe in innocent people. Again, we believe in stories, and we believe that you're doing the right thing. And never stop, please, buddy.
Thanks, pal.
Everybody else out there, please follow us on all our stuff. YouTube, you know where to go. Don't forget our merch. Please make good choices because we don't want to see you in a bad place. Have a great day, everybody. We will see you Monday. Have a Tuesday. It's Tuesday because Monday's a holiday. We will see you Tuesday. Have a great day, everybody. Stay safe.